A single voice cuts through the silence. Mrs. Fraser. Claire freezes, her heart racing, while Jamie turns with fire in his eyes. But who is calling her name? Is it a ghost from the past, a stranger from the future, or the answer to a mystery that has haunted generations? Outlander Season 8 wastes no time pulling us into chaos, and with just one word, the world of the Frasers may never be the same again. The very first trailer for Outlander Season 8 has given fans a storm of questions, and none louder than the mystery voice at the end. That one line, Mrs. Fraser, has exploded into endless theories across social media, forums, and fan circles. The camera shows Jamie and Claire looking towards someone unseen, their expressions mixing shock, fear, and recognition. But here's the question driving all the speculation. Who is this man? And why does his arrival feel like it could unravel everything Claire and Jamie have built? The trailer appears carefully designed to stir confusion. As many longtime viewers know, Starz has a habit of editing voices and visuals together from different moments, making us believe they are one scene when in fact, they are not. The mysterious call to Mrs. Fraser could very well be spliced over a completely unrelated shot of Jamie and Claire. Still, the intensity of their reaction suggests that whoever this man is, he carries a connection too important to ignore. Among the theories, one has gained momentum above all others: the possibility that the voice belongs to Henry Beecham, the son of Julia and the grandson of Brian Fraser, through blood of my blood. For years, book readers and show fans alike have debated whether Henry could cross into Claire's timeline. Now, the trailer appears to fuel that fire. Imagine the weight of such a moment: Claire meeting a boy tied to her bloodline, someone who exists because of the tangled history of the Frasers. For Claire, who has lived with the grief of losing her parents so young, the appearance of Henry would not just be shocking, it would be devastating and miraculous at once. But let's not move too fast. There are other possibilities. Some have argued it could be William, Jamie's illegitimate son, who has long been a thorn in the fabric of this family story. Others believe it might even be a soldier, a nameless voice who will bring tragic news of battles to come. After all, Season 8 is set to plunge us into the Revolutionary War's most dangerous chapters, including the brutal Battle of King's Mountain. History records Jamie Fraser as dead in this very conflict, though, of course, Outlander has never allowed history to remain untouched. The brilliance of this trailer is that it doesn't hand us answers. Instead, it taunts us with fragments, leaving fans to argue late into the night about what it all means. And that's the power of Outlander: its ability to blend the deeply personal with the sweep of history, to turn a single whispered line into a storm of dread and anticipation. We know from past seasons that Starz loves to distract us with misdirection, but the raw emotion in Claire's eyes tells us something important is at play. She is not merely startled. She looks as if the ground beneath her feet has given way, and then another layer of mystery is added by Claire's own words in the trailer. Is it possible? These three words suggest the return of a question long buried: the fate of Faith, the child she lost so many seasons ago. Could the man calling her name be tied to that wound, a living reminder of what she believed was gone forever? Could Henry, William, or even another blood relative stand before her as proof that fate itself can bend? The idea is almost unthinkable, and yet Outlander thrives on the impossible. What makes this opening episode so gripping is that it seems determined to pull every thread of the Fraser family's history into one tangled knot. The new house at Fraser's Ridge, the arrival of tenants, the shadow of war, and the possibility of long-lost connections, all of it collides in the space of a single trailer. And the message is clear: Season 8 will not be gentle. It will demand everything from Claire and Jamie, perhaps more than they can give. The voice saying Mrs. Fraser is not just about identity, it is about destiny. Whether it belongs to Henry, William, or someone we cannot yet imagine, it signals that the final chapter of Outlander will tear open old wounds and force the Frasers to face questions they believed were buried forever. And as always, the truth will not come easily. If there is one truth about Outlander, it is that nothing happens by accident. Every voice, every glance, Every detail in a trailer is a deliberate choice meant to drive fans into speculation. And this mysterious call to Mrs. Fraser feels like a turning point. To understand its weight, we need to step back into the tangled history of the Frasers and the Beechams, a history that has always blurred the line between fate and choice. For Claire, being called Mrs. Fraser is more than just her married name. It is a reminder of the life she fought for, the man she loves, and the sacrifices she has made across centuries. To hear it spoken by an unfamiliar voice raises questions that cut to the heart of her journey. Is this man an enemy? Someone who knows her identity too well? Or is he a relative, a blood tie that history had hidden until now? The trailer does not show us the man's face, and that absence alone creates a sense of dread. Sometimes what you do not see is more powerful than what you do. The theory of Henry Beecham appearing in Season 8 has ignited wild excitement. As fans of Blood of My Blood know, Henry's story is far from over. He carries within him a thread that could tie Claire to her family's past in ways she never thought possible. If Henry has traveled through time to find her, then the rules of the story would shatter in an instant. Claire has lived her entire life believing that her parents were gone forever, that her childhood was severed at the age of 5. Meeting Henry could reopen wounds she had long buried and force her to confront a truth she never expected. Yet, the more you consider it, the more complicated it becomes. Outlander has always walked a careful line between bending history and keeping to the path of its source material. Diana Gabaldon herself has confirmed that Faith, the daughter Claire lost, did not survive in the books. But the show has already proven it is willing to take risks, creating twists that diverge from canon while staying true to the spirit of the saga. If Henry steps into Claire's timeline, it would be the boldest break yet, rewriting not just one character's story, but the foundation of Claire's entire identity. Of course, others argue that this theory is too far-fetched. After all, Season 8 has only 10 episodes to resolve decades of storylines. Could the show really afford to introduce Henry, explain his journey, and weave him into the Frasers' lives without losing focus? It seems almost impossible. And yet, this impossibility is exactly what makes the theory so irresistible. Fans know that Outlander loves to test the limits of time, destiny, and belief. If Henry is indeed the man who calls for Claire, then the show is not just teasing us with shock value, it is preparing to pull the rug out from under us completely. But Henry is not the only candidate. William Ransom, Jamie's secret son, remains a figure who could shake the foundation of the Fraser family. We know from history and from past episodes that William is destined to play a role in the Revolution. His path, tied to both Lord John Grey and the British Crown, sets him on a collision course with Jamie himself. Imagine if William were to step forward in that trailer scene, his voice heavy with both recognition and resentment. Mrs. Fraser, he could say, not out of respect, but with the weight of accusation. Such a moment would not only shatter Claire's composure, but also drag Jamie's deepest secrets into the open. And then there are quieter, darker possibilities. Could the voice belong to a soldier, a messenger of death sent to deliver news of Jamie's fate at King's Mountain? The history books say Jamie Fraser was killed in that battle, struck down by gunfire. For Claire to hear Mrs. Fraser spoken in that context, just before being told that her husband had fallen, would explain the raw devastation in her eyes. And yet we know that Outlander does not bow to history. The twist would not end in death, but in resurrection, with Claire's healing hands pulling Jamie back from the brink. Still, the terror of that moment would be etched forever into her heart. The brilliance of the trailer lies in how it layers these possibilities on top of each other. Every fan sees something different. Every theory feels both possible and impossible. It is like standing before a puzzle that refuses to give up its answer. And that is why the opening of Season 8 feels so monumental. This is not just the beginning of another chapter. This is the final act, the last chance for the Frasers to secure their legacy before the curtain falls. The man who calls for Claire is not just a mystery character. He is a symbol. He represents the forces that have always haunted her, the pull of the past, the danger of the present, and the uncertainty of the future. Whether he is Henry, William, a soldier, or someone yet unknown, his voice is the key that will unlock everything to come. And Claire's reaction tells us one thing with absolute certainty. Whatever happens next, nothing in her world will remain untouched. When we peel back the layers of this trailer, one thing becomes clear. Outlander Season 8 is not just about survival, it is about revelation. The final chapter has to answer questions that have been haunting both the characters and the audience for years. And it begins with a single encounter, Claire being called by name in a way that rattles her to her very core. That moment is not only about identity, it is about destiny catching up with her. For 7 seasons, Claire has lived on the razor's edge of time itself. She has crossed centuries, defied death, healed the broken, and rewritten history in ways she never imagined possible. But in Season 8, the past finally begins to collapse in on her. The man who says Mrs. Fraser could very well be the embodiment of every choice she has made. If it is Henry, then her family's history has literally followed her across time. If it is William, then Jamie's hidden truth is no longer avoidable. And if it is a soldier or a stranger, then it may be the voice of history itself, demanding a price for all the lives Claire and Jamie have managed to change. This is why her reaction in the trailer is so chilling. Claire does not simply look surprised. She looks as though she is staring into a mirror of her past. For a woman who has seen kings, wars, and loss beyond measure, it takes something truly monumental to shake her to the core. The voice calling her name is not casual, not random. It feels heavy with purpose, like the weight of fate itself pressing down on her shoulders. And then comes the other haunting detail, the 3 words Claire whispers. Is it possible? Out of context, they seem simple. But in Outlander, no words are ever simple. Fans are already speculating that she is speaking about Faith, the daughter she lost in Season 2. For Claire to even consider the possibility that Faith survived, or that some connection to Faith has returned, would reopen one of the deepest wounds of her life. It would test the strength of her bond with Jamie, challenge her grip on reality, and force her to confront a truth she has been running from since Paris. Yet another theory ties her words to Henry. If she meets him for the first time and realizes who he is, her stunned whisper of, "Is it possible?" could reflect the collapse of everything she believed about her family's fate. For decades, she has lived with the certainty that her parents died when she was a child, that no trace of her bloodline survived to guide her. To suddenly be confronted with living proof of that connection, alive, breathing, and standing before her, would be a revelation beyond imagination. And if Henry's arrival is linked to time travel, then the very rules that govern her existence would be thrown into chaos. But perhaps the cruelest possibility is that her words are born from grief. Imagine Claire standing on the battlefield, hearing Mrs. Fraser from a messenger who brings news of Jamie's death. Her stunned whisper, "Is it possible?" would not be about Faith or Henry or the past. It would be about losing the man who has defined her entire life. Of course, fans know that Jamie cannot truly be gone. Not yet. But the devastation of that moment would burn itself into Claire's soul, a reminder that even in victory, the war always takes its toll. This, then, is the brilliance of Outlander's storytelling. It refuses to give us certainty. Instead, it gives us fragments, faces half seen, voices without bodies, questions without answers. And in doing so, it pulls us deeper into the story. Every fan walks away with their own theory, their own belief about what is coming. Some are convinced it is Henry, others are certain it is William, and still others believe it is a soldier tied to the Battle of Kings Mountain. But all agree on one thing. The answer will change everything, and this is exactly what the final season must do. It must take the lives of Claire and Jamie, the legacy of the Fraser family, and the threads of history itself, and weave them into a conclusion that feels both inevitable and shocking. The first episode sets that tone. It tells us that the final journey will not be about comfort, it will be about confrontation. Old secrets will rise, blood ties will be tested, and the line between life and death will blur once again. Season 8 does not simply begin with a mystery. It begins with a promise that nothing we thought we knew is safe. And as Claire whispers those words, "Is it possible?" we are left with the same unease. What if the impossible is not only possible, but about to rewrite everything we thought we understood about the Frasers, about time, and about fate? The opening of Outlander Season 8 is more than just a scene. It is the threshold to the final chapter of a saga that has captured hearts for years. That haunting voice calling Mrs. Fraser is not only a question of identity, it is a question of destiny. Every possibility tied to that single line carries enormous weight, and the consequences will echo throughout the rest of the season. Think about it. If the voice belongs to Henry, then the show is daring to cross into unexplored territory, reshaping both the past and the future of Claire's bloodline. Suddenly, Claire is no longer just a woman torn between two centuries. She is the bridge between generations she never thought she would know. Meeting Henry would force her to face truths about her parents, her family, and the cruel hand of fate that stole them from her. It would be both a miracle and a torment, opening wounds that have been closed since childhood. If the voice belongs to William, however, the story shifts into a confrontation that has been building for years. William, the hidden son of Jamie, represents everything unspoken between Jamie and Claire, the secrets, the sacrifices, and the painful choices of the past. For him to stand before Claire and call her name would bring decades of silence crashing down. It would test Claire's loyalty, Jamie's honor, and the fragile balance of their family. Such a moment would not simply be shocking, it would ignite a firestorm of emotions that could define the rest of the season. And if it is neither Henry nor William, if it is instead a nameless soldier, a messenger of fate delivering the devastating news that Jamie has fallen in battle, that possibility cuts to the very soul of the series. Claire has always lived with the fear of losing Jamie, of history finally catching up to them. To hear Mrs. Fraser spoken before such a revelation would feel like the world itself collapsing. Yes, fans may know that Jamie's story cannot end so soon, that Claire's healing hands will bring him back, but the terror of that moment would leave a scar no medicine could ever erase. But perhaps the greatest twist of all is that none of these theories may be true. Outlander has always thrived on misdirection, and Stars is a master of editing chaos into genius. The voice, the reaction, and Claire's whisper of, "Is it possible?" could each belong to different moments, stitched together to torment us. If that is the case, then the trailer has already succeeded. It has set the fandom ablaze, leaving us restless, desperate for answers that will only come when episode 1 unfolds, and that is the beauty of this final season. It does not promise comfort. It promises war, heartbreak, revelation, and the kind of emotional storms that only Outlander can deliver. With only 10 episodes, there is no room for filler. Every moment will matter. Every glance, every whisper, every choice will carry the weight of an ending that must be both shocking and satisfying. Claire's journey has always been about more than survival. It has been about love tested by time, about loss endured and defied, about holding on to hope even when history insists it is impossible. Season 8 takes all of that and sets it on fire. The mystery voice is just the spark. The real blaze is yet to come. S.O. as the trailer leaves us with those haunting words. Claire's trembling whisper. Is it possible? We are reminded of why we keep coming back to this story. Outlander is not just about battles or time travel. It is about the human heart, its resilience, its breaking points, and its capacity for miracles. And in the end, that is what Season 8 promises. Miracles born out of chaos, love forged in fire, and answers that will shake the very foundation of the Fraser legacy. The first episode has not even aired, yet already, the questions claw at us. Who is the man behind the voice? What truth will Claire uncover? And, most of all, will the impossible finally become possible? One thing is certain, whatever lies ahead, it will change everything forever.